Oseo.
Oseo.
That's a Cherokee greeting, and wave the great feather for the good of it. Yesterday was February, today is March. February, the whole month, was given to Black History Month. And today it begins as National Women's History Month. So we're going to start with both of those. Black used in the context, in this kind of sense, like Black history, I believe was coined by the Black Panthers there in Oakland, where I myself was working, West Oakland. And they used black in a new way, in a different way. Black is beautiful, and black power. And that pretty well started it off very amazingly. Two nights ago or 3 nights ago on KPBS, they were featuring a black author, Michael Harriot. And Michael Harriot, is presenting his book, which he titled Black AF History. And with the interview there, we could learn a little bit more about it. And that was, he started with 1619. The English colonists, maybe they were called pilgrims, he said they were kind of louts. They came for money. They were not farmers. And so, things did not go too well for them trying to live there in the rugged New England at the time. So they purchased from the Caribbean, they purchased some Africans to, to be serfs. That's what it was. Because the Africans, they had farming knowledge. So he's putting forth, definitely the whole truth was not told about the colonist and the cornerstone of making, what turned out the republic called America. Because these people from Africa, they had the knowledge of farming, and they showed some pictures maybe from his book of African people farming like that. So that started it off here. I thought it's a very good start. We have other things that have appeared to kind of balance out the thing, and I want to show it. First off, this book here, Black Athena. This is by Martin Burnell. For me, a terribly important book, because he speaks about how certain words and things have been given false etymologies and so forth. Since I went through college courses, I can recognize some of these things that he brings out. But it's a very, very comprehensive book that did cause some reactions to Athena being black. Black meaning Athena is a Greek name, but actually she is, or was, an African. And here's another book that I've had for several years, Black Man of the Nile, or The Black Man of the Nile and His Family. Is by Dr. Yoas Ben Jacqueline. Here, very, very, very comprehensive. And if anybody would be interested in how you would get this, let me give you the title page. Black Man of the Nile and His Family, published in 1989 by Black Classic Press. Founded in 1978, Black Classic Press specializes in bringing to light obscure and significant works by and about people of African descent. And the address for this would be Black Classic Press, care of List, Post Office Box 13414, Baltimore, Maryland. So I'll give you a clue if you want to follow up on this. All this is to say that Africans have been in this country long before the English colonists employed some or hired some, whatever you call it, to be serfs, in New England. And if Black history is just including that part, we'll have to go earlier than that because Africans have been in this country for a long time. some of the people that are actually Africans that are known to European Americans as Native Americans are actually Africans. First of those would be people called the Hopi over there in Arizona. I think their African name was Moki, and they are Africans. Along with the DNA, everybody's heard about the DNA, there's another one that goes along with it. It's called the chromosome count. Way I understand it, that it evolves very, very slowly, or it has a long endurance, like that. So this chromosome count can be determined in people. So in testing in this way, these people from that pueblo called Hopi, there's the black factor. The black factor in the chromosome count is located in two places. One is the very south of India, and the other is the Nile. So these people from the Hopi Pueblo have evidence they have the black factor. They are Africans, definitely. And that there is elements in their culture that I recognize that definitely has come from there. Another people is called, the Americans call them the Zuni. The Zuni are also, they're from West Africa, in the vicinity of Morocco or Libya, around there, and they still have retained their original name, Libyan name, Achui, the travelers. And they were initially assaulted by Coronado, who somehow recognized who they really were and assaulted them. It made the pueblo called a Huiku, which means house of the goddess. They were actually goddess people of the goddess of Cabell here, and so they've come there. Another people who are from Africa are the Yaquis, made very famous by Carlos Castaneda. Their actually Egyptian name is Yohemi. It's an Egyptian word, Hemi, for the people. They are Egyptian Copts. Egyptian Copts are from the Nile, Coptos, which is the place of the scorpion. And they are also known as Christian Egyptians here. And I can just show you one, if I can just turn around here. Can you see this mask here? Can you see that?
Too bright? That's fine.
Okay. This is a snake mask. It's a ceremonial mask from the Yaqui ceremony. And on top of it is, on each side, is a scorpion, carved a scorpion. And this shows up on various of the ceremonial paraphernalia in the Yaquis. The scorpion stands for Coptos, meaning the place of the scorpion on the Nile River. And so the Yaquis are also Africans. And then other people, the Paiutes of Nevada, are also, their name, Paiutes, an American name, their name is Numa. Numa are Berbers, Numidians, from the Barbary coast of North Africa. And another people right out east of San Diego, who the Americans know as Kauai, or the Marawetam, they are also Africans. So that's, some of what we're talking about here, that there's been Africans here all along. Now, I was a graduate art student in Mexico, and my master's thesis subject was Mexican art history. So I was living there to do that, and I even had native Mexican who showed me around and so forth. So I learned a lot about it. And I want to introduce this magazine that's from Mexico called Dudas, just Duda, meaning doubt. And this one is featuring people known by a modern name, the Olmecs, in that these are African people who came here, or were here, 2,500 years ago. And here's a picture here. Um, this is very characteristic of the several very huge, colossal stone heads that have been found in various places around Mexico here. And this one shows how that these people immigrated from Africa over here to Veracruz in southern Mexico. And it goes on to, chronicle their travels here in this continent all the way up to the Great Lakes and the various monuments that they built and earthworks that they had built and so forth. What their name for themselves was, moderns don't know, except to call them Olmecs. And I have seen quite a few of these huge stone heads that certainly do look like people who would have come from what I recognize as Western Africa. So this is to assert that Africans have been in this country for a very long time. My centerpiece over there this is my drawing. I gave her a Lakota name to make it more exotic, Sapa Tuckenwin, meaning black, her body. So that's my main illustration for this subject, for black history here. And we can come over here. Here are two of my African paintings, filling out, my introduction and interest into black history and black art. And if you can see one behind me over here, is that okay? This is also, I've replicated an African painting. I don't remember where I saw it, but it is, a group of African men with the great mother serpent. Did you get that? Mm-hmm. Okay. Other incidents in this is, you can look right here, California. California, the name is not a Spanish name, it's a Libyan name. That is, it has come from Califia. Actually, it was called California, the little land of Califia. And this is an image of her for that. Until the, middle of the 18th century, the Spaniards thought that it was an island. Evidently, it had been known back there in Shakespeare's time as the fabled Isle of Califia. And so there she is. Definitely she is an African. And to know, like the name Califia, at some time, maybe like the 8th century, 7th, 8th century, the Arabs, swept across, all the way across North Africa, pretty much, doing away with any of the shrines of the goddess or the mother and so forth, and pretty much turned the place into everything belonging to now a patriarchal order that was called Mohammedanism, now called Islam. So right next to her here, I have a black stone. The center or headquarters for this patriarchal idea called Mohammedanism is the Kaaba. The Kaaba is a big square building, if you ever see pictures of it, that has a black cloth evidently covering it, and inside there is a black stone. And that this had formerly been the place of the goddess Allah. The name, the patriarchal name Allah has actually come from the goddess Allah. And it's because this stone inside has the image of a vulva in it. In other words, it's evident. And so that was, a special feature for what was still the ending, the matriarchal, matrilineal, woman-centered society in Arabia. The black stone was also a symbol for other goddesses that were related to this. Probably the name Kaaba is actually from Kabeli, who also was featured with a black stone and installed in Rome, like that. So that's why I have this here, to realize that before Islam, everything was actually belonging to the feminine. Even the Mediterranean itself was considered her uterus, you know, Widerdu, I think must name for it. So all of the Mediterranean and the surrounding area, and Africa, of course, were all in the feminine. And I just have this figure here as an artifact from the ancient Mediterranean of that culture of the feminine and the priestesses. This is a priestess holding snakes. The only artifact I have, you know, representing that era. You can go right up here to this. This is also something I replicated. This is relatively important. What's happened in the taking over of the ancient world, to start with, you know, with the masculine or patriarchal, you know, had almost a mythical system to it. And one of those was to do in the shrines, temples, and like that, belonging to the feminine, be that, you know, goddesses or priestesses or anything like that. And so most famous of that is the Medusa, extremely disfigured by the Greeks, you know, of what that was about. And Perseus, the hero, ostensibly been commissioned by the Greek goddess Athena to go and assassinate the goddess of North Africa. This that I've replicated here, sort of a recent finding of an archaeological find in North Africa, I think probably near the coast, you know, of a building in which this picture was discovered. And I replicated it from the photograph I saw, and I think maybe it was painted on tile. That's why it could last so long. But this is Medusa, and it is, I'm sure, the only picture of Medusa that there is that's not sponsored by the Greeks. This I have alongside of it. This is a Greek figure for, she's also called a Gorgon, so this would be Medusa or the Gorgon mask, like that. What really identifies her here, this is a branch of red coral, and it has many offerings or adornments hanging off of it, and the red coral is blood, but I think usually referred to in this culture as menstrual blood. So that really identifies her. Most likely, Medusa is a queen. Actually, the name, it's a Greek name, is Medusa, and it's translated as guardian, but it's also translated as ruler, or even to govern, from the etymology of menin, also, which is the source of the word medical. So no doubt that this is a queen there in North Africa, and somebody has ideally portrayed her, and so this would be an extreme exception to the disfigurement of the story of the assassination of a North African queen. If you go over here and see this, this is another of my replications. This is from an amphora in Thebes of 650 BC, is what's given to it. And it is showing, this is Perseus, the assassin, actually assassinating Medusa here. Now, the idea that Medusa had snakes for hair, most likely were dreadlocks. Most likely they were dreadlocks. And I'll say that more in a moment. But here he is grasping her curly hair and about to dispatch her, and he is carrying a bag where he's going to put her head when he finishes his gruesome task. So she is colored brown. She's definitely an African. He's not. Like that. So this is very, very remarkable to have this portrayal of the actual assassination of, because she could be the priestess of the temple, or she could be the queen herself. So take all that in stock, for all that has come out of this. And if you go all the way up there to that mask, this is the mask of Yamoja. The word Ocean means a deity, a goddess. So this is Yamoja, the ocean of West Africa. I think actually it's a river, and she also is the great mother of the sun Esu. And she has here, this is a beard. The important female deities have beards showing their power, and this one's a gray beard showing how venerable she is as an ancestor. Then you can see there are cowrie shells surrounding her mask there. So cowrie is very obviously a feminine symbol of the vulva, and the name Kauri is actually named after a Hindu goddess, Gauri. So Kauri is actually Gauri. So that is Yamoja there. I think I got everybody. So all of that is, to fulfill here a sense for honoring Black history is the way it's being phrased.
What about the little one above? Yeah.
I didn't get to that yet. That's the next part.
Okay.
I do want to say again there, the people that I can still remember of that time of the Black Panthers, Huey Newton and Jesse Jackson, who just passed over, Reverend King and Angela Davis were some of the names that I remember. Still comes to mind like that. And so to have this designation of Black History Month, we owe much to the struggles of these people and others to bring about this kind of recognition for the people here. Yeah, I have another African mother figure right here. So just to kind of follow up with a little bit what I've run over here, in the African cultures, which still are there, these still are going, the Yoruba name for the priestess, now the priestess, she's the person who is taking care of the history, the mythology, the customs, and all of that. So she's very, very important, very necessary, important. And in the Yoruba people, Yalawu is the name of the priestess. And then if you have the queen, then she would be Malkia. Malkia would be the queen here. And then referring back to the Rastafarians, that we should also include that in this Black history. The Rastafarian is more recent, I don't know what, 80 years ago maybe, like that. And it's mainly honoring, venerating the character known as Rastafari, and his other name is Haile Selassie. And it's a Jamaican-centered culture, and what we know, I'm trying to say this, we learned about it from Bob Marley. Bob Marley, you know, the singer, and his dreadlocks. So the dreadlocks have a little bit of a history, and that's why I was suggesting that the so-called Greek Medusa with snakes for her hair was really an African who had dreadlocks. That would seem to me to be very reasonable. So thank you for Bob Marley for bringing that and the reggae music up to our modern time here. So that's the way I can honor all of this. Now the following I'm going is now for the Women's Month. And what I'm really leading that with is the primal feminine is the snake or the serpent. And so starting with my talk last week was the Navajo changing woman. And in that I showed a petroglyph that I had replicated where she has snakes. The snakes were her pets. And also she gave many gifts to people, the Diné, you know. She also gave them her pet snakes as pets. So the people, they did have, you know, pet snakes, but they said eventually they got tired of carrying the snakes around because they couldn't go anywhere without carrying these snakes, and so they let them all go. So now we know that any snakes we come across were really the pets of these people, or at least of changing woman here. So that's how we kind of started. So I have this figure here. This is my figure representing her. Let me make that clear. This is not a Navajo sculpture of her. It's only looked like her. And this is a Hindu votive piece of a cobra to go together with her snakes. They come over here next to her that I've made this piece here. This is Big Snake Woman. Big Snake Woman, Tsitso Atsna. And she is the guardian of the house of Changing Woman. And so other chants like White Snake Hogan and things like that most likely would be attributed to her to show the significance and importance of the presence of the snake here in this country with her. Then I want to go all the way up there to show off here my also centerpiece. This is my piece that I have made of the snake. I don't have any other way to refer to it other than this is my painting of the snake. And then if you come all the way down here, this is also my piece I made quite a long time ago for Kali, the India Kali, for a snake. And a hibiscus is her flower here. Now in India, the snake, serpent, cobra, any of those names that are saying that this being or animal is everywhere. It's just countless. The whole continent, in one way or another, is covered with images of all kinds for the snake or for the serpent, who is very venerated, and in particular, mostly feminine, you know. And go all the way over there to the far side. I've painted this as a naga. Naga is the usual word, you know, for snake person, snake woman, snake anything. And that's what I painted her to be. But she also resembles, it's a woman and partly a serpentine, also the figure of North Africa, Lamia. The name Libya, you've all heard the country named Libya. At one time the whole of North Africa was being called Libya. Libya is a Greek name for Lamia. So most likely, Lamia and Athena and anybody else there, this is all referring to uh, one goddess or different aspects of her, and that would also be a portrait of her, like that. Right above it, let me just point that out there. You see there's an illustration. I used this illustration for Juneteenth. That was the celebration of African Americans' Liberation Day. That piece is, I believe it's an ancient Greek celebratory vessel. So that's why I have that there. And while we're over there, you see that big snake piece that's hanging there. In India, during the summer months, they have a special festival for snakes, in which people go out and they find snakes, I think, probably usually cobras, and they bring them to the temple. They bring them to the temple where these snakes are honored or blessed and fed milk and so forth, and then they are released. So it's similar to the snake pets, in the Navajo, is that these snakes, are treated like pets, honored pets, at that. And so for people that don't really want to go around looking for snakes, the vendors, produce these huge cloth snakes like the one I have there. So people, I don't know, they just walk around with them or something to show that they are in the honor of snake time. That kind of thing. And then we can go over here. You see this votive picture. The queen of the snakes is Manasa. So this is a actual portrait of Manasa. To honor her, you might want to have this. Somebody might want to have this on their altar. And above her, this is an actual mask. In other words, this is actually a still thriving culture in India of her and the snakes. And she has a snake for her collar there. So that is Manasa. And above here, this is my painting for honoring the snake. It's my oil painting. You can come all the way over here, right here. This is another votive piece of Manasa with the snakes over her head, and she's in reverence gesture here. And below here, this is a very ancient metal mask. There's a people actually called the Naga, and these are pre-Aryan, non-Hindu people. They are people. They're known as the Naga. Various people, like philosopher Nagarjuna, various people use the name Naga in their names and so forth. So this is an actual antique mask. These masks are put on stones. Stones are also in India, very venerated as evidences of the Earth Mother, you put it that way. And so where somebody has a special stone that they want to set up someplace and venerate, this would be a mask for that, for the Naga. And circling this, this is a red coral necklace, always a feminine honor like that, and it has a jade snake pendant on it there. Now I want to come over here to this figure here. This is a very, very good carving of a character that Americans, for some reason, have taken a acute liking to, and it's known as Kokopelli. So this is Kokopelli, very, very good carving. And Kokopelli is actually the avatar of Temu. Again, this is Hopi or Muki, and many things in the culture, events that they have come from that part of Africa, and this is one of them. This is to represent the horned serpent, Temu. Temu is a creatoress serpent. And above it, this is a photo of my painting. It's a very big painting that I found in Nevada that's Egyptian. It's entirely Egyptian. And here is the snake Temu, and the whole myth of Temu is painted here on this huge, huge rock that looks like the Sphinx, and that's what the rock is called, the Sphinx of Pyramid Lake. And so, focusing on all of that. Oh, wait a minute, I went too far. I want to mention this here. This is being called Shiva, the Panchamukha Deva. This is a piece, modern, but it's also been rendered anciently in stone. So it's a very important, the 5 faces of Shiva. Shiva has been taken into the Hinduized and filled with ridiculous stories of families and things like that. But he's actually a non-Hindu, non-Aryan character known as Vira, the Vira. And I'm including him here because always he's always entwined with cobras here. So at some other time I would say more about this, but mainly that's what we're looking at is the snake here. And then we're going back to Kokopelli. So as long as you're looking at that, I'll do this short reading. Kokopelli is the avatar of Temu. He is the erogenous engagement with maidens to impregnate the young woman with an active principle as a form of serpent, which enters into the woman and becomes one with her, and as it were a part of her own body. And she nourishes this new herself that has entered her. Kokopelli is the principle of origination, that is continuous changes forming a continuity of becoming. The heart of life is a continuous becoming. This coming into existence is called Jani Jana, that is, the sinuous. The value that she gives it is the form of its expression. Okay, you can come back here and let me introduce you.
Light. Light.
Wait, I have to introduce you. Okay, for here, I've finished my talk on this part. And now Claudia, she's going to come up here and she's going to present supplemental to this, actually, to start off for this first day of Women's History Month. And so she has a special piece that she is going to present to you for that. So Claudia.
Okay, I knew that he was going to do this, and I thought with all that has been going on in relation to women around the world, murdered and indigenous, missing and murdered women that are indigenous to this country, also all that we've been hearing about the Epstein files and the women that were dishonored there. This is a calendar that Syracuse Cultural Workers presents this month, and this month being a special calendar. This is Nadia Murad from Iraq, and you can see she has the butterflies all around her. And the story of her is that she was given the Nobel Peace Prize along with Dr. Denis Mukwege, who was a Democrat Republic from the Congo. And so as an Iraqi woman, she survived the Yazidi genocide. And so she shared this 2018 Nobel Peace Prize for their efforts to end the use of sexual violence as a weapon of war and armed conflict. At 21 years old, Nadia was kidnapped and sexually enslaved and forced to convert. She later escaped to Germany, where she shared her story with the world. She has since focused on accountability for perpetrators of gender-based violence and expanding the UN's work to stop sexual violence. Her work promotes a world where women, children, and minorities are protected from persecution and sexual violence, and victims are protected through opportunities for asylum and immigration. Nadia believes we must invest in our children because children, like a blank slate, can be taught tolerance and coexist instead of hatred and sectarianism. Women must also be the key to solving many problems and must be involved in building lasting peace among communities. So, in ending her statement, she says, when genocide is committed, people must look at it with open eyes, not minimize its impact. So we are asking, work to end sexual and domestic violence, support your local domestic violence agencies. Thank you, Nadia.
Turn it back up.
Oh, sorry, Nadia, you're upside down. Yeah, okay.